Good day and great health. My name is Dr. Chiropractic of Ohio Specific Chiropractic. I'm a pediatric, family wellness, and upper cervical specific chiropractor. Today on this video, we're going to talk about the connection between asthma and the upper cervical spine. Now, my disclaimer at the start of all these videos is to let everyone know that as a chiropractor, my goal is not to treat any specific condition, such as asthma, but my main objective is to help improve the integrity and the functionality of the upper cervical spine and the brainstem that is housed and protected in this area. So in order to understand the science and the sort of rationale behind chiropractic, we'll just do a simple crash course in anatomy and physiology. First, we'll talk about the foramen magnum. That's going to be found on the occipital bone, or the back part of our skull. Next, we have the atlas bone, or the first cervical vertebra. Next is the axis bone, or the second cervical vertebra. And again, the main player is going to be the brainstem, which is housed and protected in those two top bones of the neck. Along with those structures, we'll talk about two main nerve groups. We have the superior cervical ganglion and the vagus nerve. The superior cervical ganglion is located in close proximity to the axis bone, and it's going to supply sympathetic nerve function to the lungs. The sympathetic branch of our nerve system is often called the fight or flight branch of our nerve system. That's because it's going to be engaged or initiate more when we are in some type of strenuous or stressful situation that requires us to increase our lung capacity. So in order to do that, it's going to open the lung pathway, the air pathways, to allow more oxygen into our system. Next nerve is the vagus nerve. It passes directly in front of the atlas bone, and it's going to supply the parasympathetic branch or parasympathetic function to the lungs. The parasympathetic branch is often called the rest or digest, or the rest and heal branch of our nerve system, because that is our sort of set point or our resting state of our nerve system. So compared to sympathetic function, the lung pathways are going to be smaller in diameter or circumference when the vagus nerve is engaged more compared to the superior cervical ganglion. Now, both these nerves are going to be modulated, or going to be direct controlled by the brainstem. That's because in our brainstem we have what's called the respiratory center. Here's where our body regulates its breathing. It's going to send that information to the superior ganglion or the vagus nerve to open or close those lung pathways instantaneously, depending on the situation, to help keep homeostasis at a relative level. That homeostasis is the balance of our body. It helps keep our body at its optimal health and wellness level. That's because, in general, our nerves do four main things. They control all the movements we make, they sense everything we feel, they regulate all our body organs, and they relate us to the outside world. Now, kind of hinted at before, our body is constantly being bombarded by stress in three main types, or three different varieties. They are physical, chemical, and emotional in nature. Now, these stresses are going to put added tension on our nerves and is going to create body imbalance. Now, another job of our brainstem is to adapt all these stresses that are constantly coming at us, both internally and externally, and it's going to help ease the tension off the nerves and help bring the body back into balance. Now, if the brainstem can't adapt to a stress at 100%, it's going to create a compensation. Now, compensation is not as ideal as an adaptation. One type of compensation that the brainstem and the upper cervical spine create is a vertebral subluxation. A vertebral subluxation is a physical presentation of that compensation. Here in our drawing, I just drew a simple schematic drawing of a vertebral subluxation where the top bone, C1, has shifted over to the left, and the axis bone has shifted over to the right. This is going to then put added tension and irritation on the brainstem and all the nerves that emit from it. So what that does is it's going to create a disruption in the nerves and how they sense, perceive, and behave. Once we do that, we're affecting how the nerves function. We are affecting how they move, how they sense, how they regulate, and how they relate. If we are affecting or disrupting how a nerve functions, we are creating an abnormal nerve function. over time, one way that the body expresses abnormal nerve function is through symptoms. Now let's look at the symptoms of asthma. Often, when you're in an asthmatic attack, you're going to have shortness of breath, chest pain or tightness, wheezing or coughing attacks. And these symptoms are going to be often triggered by some type of physical, chemical, or emotional stress. Often the physical stress is going to be some type of activity or exercise. Chemical stress, smoke, smog, some type of allergen in the air can create that stress. And emotional stress. If we have a tough day at work, fight with our spouse, if we're watching the news too much, these stresses can then trigger that asthmatic attack. Now, what's the medical approach? Often the medical approach is very reactionary to these symptoms. Usually if you are in the throes of an attack, you'll take a puff of an inhaler, usually some type of steroid that's going to try to alter the size or help increase the circumference of the lung air pathways. Now again, in chiropractic, we're not focused on treating the symptoms. We are kind of looking further down the road, and we want to just help improve the overall integrity of the nerve system. So to do that, we want to help decrease any presentation of nerve disruption, and that is going to be through a vertebral subluxation. So we help reduce or correct that nerve disruption through a specific adjustment. Through that specific adjustment, we help improve the body balance. We help ease tension off the nerves. When we take the pressure off the nerves and we help bring the body back into balance, this equates with just better overall function. When our body is able to function better, it's also able to adapt better. So any of those stresses that are coming at the body, our body is able to adapt to them at a higher functionality or a higher level of adaptation. Now this is just a simple primer in the connection between the upper cervical spine and asthma. But if you have any more questions or concerns about how upper cervical chiropractic is connected or can help you and asthma, please reach out to me at ohiospecific.com. Thank you very much.